giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning. Good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by Boston Scientific. We stream it live on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! It's OTC, baby. I love Tuesdays, man. That means we got on the clock our draft series. Puts the king coming back. We're talking edge rushers. We're going to talk about the top guys in the draft, and we're going to talk about some guys that may be there for the Cowboys late in the first round, maybe in the second round. We'll see. We'll get to all of that with our guy Foots later on in the show. Plus, in the roundup, we got some more prominent names that are being added to the list of 30 visits. And why I think this is kind of starting to buck a trend. We touched on this a little bit last week. We'll go into it in some more detail again this week. But I love this. I hope this is a sign of things to come. I know there's a lot of smoke screens that happen in the NFL draft season. A lot of lies that are told. A lot of, hey, look over here. We're gonna be over there. But this new kind of, I guess it's a trend now. Trend that's happening with the Cowboys. I'm praying and hoping that this is a real thing and they continue to take this part of the game of offense seriously. So we'll get into that in the roundup as well, man. But what's good, man? How y'all doing, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Toxic is just not going to let that tweet go for Foots, huh? You just going to keep going. I mean, Toxic dropped the $2 already.
Super chat.
And says he's booing Foots. I'm sorry, I can't be enthused with you booing my guy Foots. But he's booing Foots about the tweet. Yeah, you gotta let him go, man. Gotta let him go. Is my sound off? Lee said my voice sound different. Is it the sound or is it I sound sick? Yeah. But if it's the sound of this, let me know. I'll tweak some things and see what we got going on. I switched the microphones back, so that could be it as well. So y'all just let me know. With that said, Cowboys Nation, I see somebody in here says shout out to Brock Lesnar. Tricks, appreciate you, dog.
Super chat.
Dropping the $2 donation. Yeah, I didn't like the Raw after Mania. I thought that was weak. I thought that was whack. Yeah. I don't mean to be harsh, but apparently Vince McMahon's back into the writing, and you can see it wasn't great yesterday. So I ain't like it. I ain't like it at all. And Brock Lesnar, I thought him and Cody teaming up was going to be dope, and then he turned on him, and I don't understand what's going on here. But that's for an entirely different show. I might have to do a podcast where I'm just talking wrestling. But, hey, man, it wasn't the best Monday after Raw, so I ain't like it. With that said, let's hit this roundup because I want to talk about this real quick. We got Foots at the top of the hour, so that gives us about 20 minutes. If you want to call in, you can. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. So make sure y'all get in here and we can rap for a little bit before we get Foots on the horn. Here we go.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time.
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Oh, they do it. Hey, oh, they do it.
Hey, yo. So we're getting these names that are leaking out to the press about the Cowboys 30 visits. And I'm liking some of these names I'm seeing. We got two more of them yesterday. We really got three. We got the Clemson linebacker as well, Trenton Simpson. But I want to talk about the receivers because this is a sort of a trend that's happening with the Cowboys over the last 6 months or so, where it's a positive trend in my opinion, and one where I hope it's not a smokescreen, and that's taking serious having speed on this offense. It's another trend they're kind of bucking, but The biggest name that they're bringing in of the two here is Zay Flowers, I think, is the biggest name. And Flowers spoke at the combine about position flex, and he said this to the reporters, quote, "I'm not just a slot receiver. 75% of my snaps were played outside, and I think I can move around and play any position that they put me at." Well, we know the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy loves position flex. He constantly brings up wide receivers being able to go inside and be able to play outside, play in the slot, X, Z, play everywhere along the wide receiver positions. And Zay, even at 5'9", played a lot of his snaps outside. A lot of people would say that translates to him being a slot guy, but hey, man, if he can truly play out there, I do think McCarthy could fall in love with him the same way I'm falling in love with Zay's game. And I think that's why they're bringing him in for a visit. I think they want to get an up close and personal look at Zay, his mentality, not just the combine and the numbers and the tape, but hey, man, do you got the temperament to be that guy out there if we need you to be? Regardless, he's a playmaker. He brings that speed, that dynamo, that dynamic aspect to the offense that, again, we were searching for like 10 weeks last year, opposite of CD Lamb. Now, the other guy they brought in, another speedster, explosive guy in Jalen Hyatt. More of a day two type of guy, but still, you're trying to cover your bases in that top 100. When you're doing these 30 visits, you want to cover your bases in the top 100, and you also want to meet with some of the guys that you might sign after the draft or that you might draft later on in the draft period. But Zay and Jalen Hyatt, I think this is the Cowboys doing their due diligence on the prospects, obviously. But I also think it's clear that after that debacle last season at the receiver, offseason, I should say, at the receiver position, they're looking to cover their bases from a talent standpoint. So if they got to take a receiver in the top 3 rounds, they very well may. Although the wide receiver room has Cooks, has Lamb, and has Michael Gallup, I don't think the Cowboys want to get caught with their pants down like they did before. I think they're still in the market to add explosive players and add some juice to the position in the offense. And I'm all the way for that. All the way for that. When they let go of Cooper last year, y'all, and I'm not bringing up Cooper to get all up in arms about Amari Cooper. I'm just trying to make a point here. When they let go of Cooper and they rolled out the likes of, Noah Brown, Dennis Houston, Jalen Tolbert, the returning ACL Gallup, they essentially rolled out the slowest, least explosive wide receiver group outside of CD Lamb, right? Opposite of CD Lamb. You could argue probably bottom 5 in the NFL when it comes to that specifically. So they figured, we messed up, and we talk about that. Let's go out and try to get some explosive guys. Let's go out and try to get a Jerry Jeudy, a Cooks, a Odell Beckham. All those dudes are going to add some juice to this offense. And they settled on T.Y. Hilton, which still was the second most explosive guy on in your wide receiver room. At 33 years old, y'all, a dude didn't play all season. So I think the Cowboys are looking to shed this size thing for one, and they're looking to add more of this speed situation. The whole size thing, it's real. Like in Dallas, the size thing is real. They had a prototype under Jason Garrett. And that prototype fit kind of that Air Coryell, Ernie Zampese type of offense. The possession 6'2" type of guy out there. They had Cole Beasley and Randall Cobb in between, but those are more of outliers. But when you see them go out and get a T.Y., you see them go out and get Brandon, obviously they're interested in a Josh Downs. They're interested in a Zay Flowers. They're interested in a Tank Dell. 3 of the top 4 sub 6 foot wide receivers I talked about a month or so ago. They've met with 3 of them. Zay, Josh, and Tank. Maybe they'll meet with Parker Washington. Who knows? But I think it's clear, and we should have known it was clear, when they went and traded for Brandon Cooks and elected to pay him a little bit more money than they usually do. that told you right there, look, we're willing to shed this whole size thing to get more explosiveness on offense. So I'm all for it. I think the Cowboys should stick with this, especially with the new direction offensively. And if you're going to do more West Coast things where you're requiring these guys to get the ball right now and make plays after the catch, these type of players you're going to need. Now, not all of them are going to come under 6 foot, right? But you can't rule these guys out just because they don't meet your 6'1", 6'2" criteria. Like you can't do that. I think you, in some cases, will devoid yourself of certain talent, and those guys right there. Zay is one of them. Josh is one of them. Tank is one of them. So I like it. How y'all feeling about the Cowboys meet with Zay Flowers and one Jalen Hyatt? Hyatt's a bit different. Hyatt is not a sub 6 foot guy. He's at 6 foot, but he's slender, 176, and he's more of a linear speed guy. He wasn't really given the opportunity to run a whole bunch of the route trees, so maybe they want to bring him in. I don't think they work these guys out. I can't remember, but and see if he can handle the other things. But these other dudes, oh yeah, they yak you up. Yeah, toxic. It was a terrible plan, you know. But when you let the feelings get in the way, that's what happens, man. Marvin says the more weapons, the better, for sure. Absolutely. You know, and I think the Cowboys learned their lesson by when TP went down. I think it really hit them like, oh, it's CeeDee Lamb and it's the rest of these guys. Right. So I don't think they want to go into this draft or into this season with that similar situation. They don't want to do it. What I just saw here. Mark Smith, if we can't get D-Hop, I'd be open to bringing back T.Y. You still think you still on the D-Hop dream? Yeah, I pretty much closed that one. I don't think D-Hop is coming here, man. No, sir. No, sir. Yeah, Toxic Flowers is short. So big. 5'9". I think Josh Downs, Zay, and Tank are all, 5'9", 5'10" type of area. Hell, I'm wondering if Brandon Cooks is 5'10". He looks small. He looks small. Fact. Shout out to the Vertically Challenged game. So T-Dub says Cedric Wilson is out there. So Cedric Wilson could potentially be cut. We brought this up on Avacha's show. Said Wilson, I don't know if he's up for trade or what have you, but it looks like the Miami Dolphins were like, we're good off of Said. And mind you, they signed Said prior to trading for Hill. So Said is going to count $8 million against the cap this year, $8 million next year. I don't think Stephen Jones is going to want to trade for that. Now, if they cut him, hell yeah, bring him in. I'm ready to go to camp at that position with as many guys that I can trust and as many guys that have either A, high-end talent, or B, they've been productive in this league. And Said would be the latter part. He's a guy that's been productive in this league because the Cowboys went into camp last year with all this hope. I'm done with hope. They don't got time for hope. McCarthy doesn't have time for hope. And I think that's why you see them attacking this position a little bit harder, because he believes in players. He believes that I got to have dudes. Kellen believe y'all just got to fit what I do and we'll be fine. And I just never thought that was the case. Because when he had dudes, he was eating. But he wanted his system to be above those guys. And that just can't be, man. That just can't be. Two Broke said he never wanted to get rid of Said. He made our offense more dynamic. We had this conversation last year, Two Broke, that you could have made the argument, granted hindsight is 2020, but you could have made the argument at that time that Said Wilson was a more important bring back than Michael Gallup because of what Said Wilson did for you in a multitude of things. He could return the punts for you, play special teams. He was a quality wide receiver 3. He was probably would have been one of the best 4th wide receivers in the National Football League. He could do the reverses. He can actually do the trick plays that Kellen loved to do. He just brought more versatility to the offense, where we know Michael Gallup is. We know what Michael Gallup is. And this is without speaking in hindsight. He was who he was prior to the ACL situation. But Said just brought a little bit more to the offense. And goes to Miami. They don't even use him. And he was clutch. Yeah, absolutely. He was clutch. I would welcome said back with open arms. I don't think they would trade for him though, given the money that's still owed on his contract, unless they pull another Cook situation. Hey, we'll trade him, but y'all gotta take the rest of his guarantees, or y'all gotta take this cap hit, that cap hit, and we'll bring him back. But hell yeah, bring him in there. But I think they'll cut him. If they don't want him, I think they'll cut him. Yeah, that's what I mean. Broke the trick plays with the reverses and the and throwing the rock and whatnot. That guy, in my opinion, was more reliable for you than the Noah Browns of the worlds and the Dennises and all those other guys they tried to throw out there. King believes it could have been worth his contract with us. It would have been cheaper than MG. Yeah, it would have been cheaper. Here's the weird thing, though. Now I'm about to speak probably out both sides of my mouth here. Yes, said would have been worth it more than a Michael Gallup, but no, said wouldn't have been enough. You understand what I'm saying here? Like, if you're willing to pay said Wilson to be your wide receiver 3 at $8 million on the cap, okay, that's fair. I think you can probably live with that in most instances if you're willing to pay him to be your wide receiver 3. But if said was just your wide receiver 2 and you still rolled out said Noah Brown and all those other dudes, I still don't believe that was enough. The issue was always getting rid of 19 and not replacing him with a Brandon Cooks type of dude. So it's really weird. Would have rather had said last year, but the problem was they chose Gallup over both said and Cooper, where you could have had said and Cooper and not Gallup. But you let feelings get in the way. Put it this way. Lamb, said, and Coop, in my opinion, would have been better than Lamb, said, and Michael Gallup. Danny says MG's the worst contract alongside Zeke. What's his cap? I mean, we chilling. We got a few more minutes till Foots gets in here. Gallup's contract's not fun. I'll say that, but it was cheaper than what I thought it was going to be, given the wide receiver 2 market. Okay, $13 million on cap now. Well, they restructured his contract. Yeah, that's a bit much. 13, 15, 15 if he's still here. 6 on the cap this year because they restructured it. 5 years, was it 57 million? 5 year, 57 million. I don't like the length. I don't care about the amount of money. It's all funny money, but the 5 years is kind of crazy. But they can get out of it next year. So if they cut them next year, you'll get dead cap of $4 million in 2024 and $8 million in 2025 if they elect to move on. And if they decide to take one of these young bucks in the top 2 or 3 rounds, they could be looking at that. 100% could be looking at that. Some people don't like the MG slander. We got to figure out a new word. Because you can't really have like constructive criticism anymore, man. People call it hating or they call it slander. People get upset when you're just being, giving constructive criticism to said player. I don't think calling Michael Gallup what he is slander. I think he is what he is, man. And your own front office said we made a mistake banking on Michael Gallup coming off an ACL injury. I bet you they would have loved to not have paid him knowing what they know now. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what they know now, I bet you they would have said we would pass. Hence trading for Brandon Cooks. Hence wanting to go probably draft one of these wide receivers. They know they messed up. It ain't just us saying it. It's just constructive criticism on the player, man. Let's get Charlie Murphy in here real quick prior to Foots joining us. What's up, Charlie Murphy? And not the Charlie Murphy, but that's what I'm calling it. What up? Charlie Murphy, you live, man. Uh-oh. No Charlie. Let's try 832. 832, what it is, what it do?
Yo, good morning, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Hey, man, won't take up much of your time. I know you got Foot the King coming on
Yep.
there. My D-Hop dream, man, I wanted him bad. It might not be dead. I don't think Arizona's going. I don't think he's going to be on the roster. They've been too public with wanting to cut salary and move him around and him saying what he said.
Are you
So
talking
they're
about?
probably going to cut him?
Are you talking about Hopkins?
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
Man, they
Yeah, I
be
don't. I don't think they. I don't think. I think they'll cut him. But
They be
I don't. I think that's a
fools.
dream of us getting him.
they would be fools to cut that man.
Well, hey man, it depends on their money situation, man. If they're serious about slashing payroll and things like that, and they don't get any offers, hey, people know he's not going to be on the roster. They know he's not going to. The league knows Hopkins isn't going to play this year.
Yeah.
In Arizona, they've been a little bit too forward about that. Would they be fools? Well, they've been fools about a couple of things. I'm not going to talk bad about Kyler Murray, but that's one thing they did kind of upside down. And hindsight's always 20/20. But
Let me see.
Look,
Let me see what their dead cap would be if they were to cut Kyler Murray. I'm just curious what it would be. So they would take in if they designate him.
DeAndre Hopkins, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I meant cut DeAndre Hopkins, but go ahead.
Yeah, not Kyler Murray. I meant DeAndre. I meant DeAndre too. So if they were to cut him, they would suffer a $23 million cap hit that they can split over the next 2 years. So it'd be 11 this year, 11 that year. If they were, if they were to trade or cut him, regardless, it's going to be the same thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess they could. I would rather trade him and get anything at that point, right? 5th, 6th, 7th round, anything than just get rid of him for nothing because D-Hop is still that guy.
Yeah, maybe the Cowboys are playing the right game this time around. Maybe waiting is the thing to do. Is at the last minute, if Arizona gets desperate enough, and they don't want to.
You think Cowboys are still in on this, or I don't think they're in on this.
Hey, I don't know, man. Hey, look, again, I'm kind of optimistic because my whole thing is we got a new regime there. And this is this aggressiveness has more to do not so much with Steven Jones as it does with the coaches. I believe that. I just want to believe that. I want to believe that with the coaches say, "Look, man, you got an opportunity to go get somebody, and we can do this and we can do that."
So it'll be a dream scenario for you, is what you basically saying.
Yeah, it would be a dream.
Gotcha.
It would be a dream. I haven't. I don't foresee it happening. I'm saying the possibility still exists. It's on life support now, but it's there. It would be an extraordinary set of circumstances for that to happen now.
Yeah,
but
but
we'll see, man. And I'm not concerned as much with because the only reason why is because you said it before. You guys are pretending that Michael Gallup is not there, and he's really the only X there. You get DeAndre Hopkins, he's your X right away. That takes care of your X thing.
Well, you got an X. We don't know. Michael Gallup's a question mark with the whole injury thing. But I mean, D-Hop, I don't give a damn if D-Hop was an A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'll put him anywhere out there. I don't give a damn where you lie.
He got half the alphabet.
I don't care where you lie, D-Hop. Look, the Michael Gallup don't exist if you got D-Hop. And nobody exists on that team except Lamb to me if you get D-Hop. But no, seriously though, man. Look, it is a dream that we all would love to share with you. And look, if it happens, we'll be on here. We'll be on here dancing, man. Do I got my money danced up?
Jello Beats, holla at me.
No. Let us fans dream, Sky. You the professional, man.
Hey.
You got to keep us sober, man. Keep us on track.
Keep the dream alive, dog. From your lips to the football guy's ears, brother. From your lips. Appreciate you, man.
I'll do that, man. Hey, man, you got what's coming, man. Let me get out there. I will. Y'all talk.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you calling in. Hey, look, yes, sir. I love the dream for sure, man. I love the dream, and I don't want my heart broken, right? So I don't necessarily think like that, for the D-Hop thing anymore. But boy, if it happens, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. But look, let's turn the page real quick. We got our guy Foots the King on the horn, ladies and gentlemen. So y'all know what's good, brother, man.
What's up, Sky? How you doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
I got my own drop now.
You got your own drop. Exactly. Come on, man. We were having this drop since what? The the first year we did this, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
How you doing this morning, though, bro?
Good. Man, I feel good. Can you believe how close we are to the draft? It's crazy. The Dallas visits are being leaked.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, your boy Zay, is in the building. It's good, man. We're getting closer. And I think, in a week or so, things will start to leak out on who Dallas is kind of narrowing in on at 26. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Before we get to the edge rushers, do you think there's something to the Cowboys having real interest in these more speed type guys? Because in the past they really just hadn't brung those type of guys in here, but now it looks like they're turning the page.
Oh, I do. I mean, they signed Brandon Cooks. Well, they traded for Brandon Cooks. I think that they're saying, we want to kind of rethink offense around here. Separation is a premium. And the truth of the matter is Michael Gallup just didn't get enough separation last year. I think that the receiver position as a whole in the NFL is kind of being relooked at. And that's not to say that, you're going to always have guys that are smaller and quicker, play on the edge and do these types of things. But if you have a guy who you grade, like we spoke about with a guy like Zay Flowers, who can play on the outside and inside, then you bring him in and you talk to him.
Facts. And you know me, Zay's one of my top guys here from an explosive standpoint that I hope they decide to take a look at. But let's change channels a little bit here to the edge rushers, because that's what we want to focus on today, Foots. And before we get into the individual guys, edge feels like a sneaky pick for the Cowboys in the top 3 rounds. You saw that Dan Quinn worked out with a couple of the guys that's on this list, which we'll talk about later on. And you could never really have enough pass rushers, right? Like in an NFL where it's a quarterback-driven league, you could never really have enough pass rushers. But to you, how deep do you view this draft class on the edge?
So for me, it's very deep, and you'll have guys all over the board. Like, we'll get to it. There's probably some names left off of my list who are, top, 50 guys. One edge for sure that I know that people say, well, Foots, where's he at? Why is he not on here? But to me, how I think of edge, and we've seen some of these guys get to the league and flop because they don't have a coach like Dan Quinn. Like, edge is so tricky. It's almost like quarterback in a sense, right, Sky? If you don't have a guy who's going to marry the scheme with some of these players, then these guys can really flop out.
Yeah, so the couple of guys that we're going to talk about at the top first, because I want to talk about these consensus top guys and then get to some possible more realistic dudes the Cowboys can have a chance at. And we know about Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson. They're kind of the consensus top guys to most of the media draft people. But kind of give us your take on Will and Tyree.
I mean, just 1 and 2. I mean, when you look at Will Anderson, he could probably play off-ball linebacker. He could play all DN spots. He could play a 9 technique. He could play a 4-eye. He could play a 5 technique. He's incredible. His hands are violent. One of the more interesting things about Will Anderson is just how small he is. Like, he's not a big guy, but he plays so violent. The number one prospect in the draft for me is Will Anderson.
Right.
He's only 253 pounds, but you see him punch and just beat the hell out of tackles that are 100 pounds bigger than him. So it's almost like he's just like a superhuman. But yeah, Will Anderson is clearly the best player in this draft, the best player in this draft, and he's only 21, Sky. Amazing.
Yeah, and the other guy that I constantly see now on a lot of these mocks and a lot of these boards that is following him is Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech.
Yeah, so for Tyree Wilson, length is the name of his game. Motor is really good as well. You look at the Oklahoma and the Texas game, you're just like, wow. Like, this guy just can't be blocked. They played him in a 3-3 stack. See, that's the thing with college football to me, Sky, is some of these D coordinators kind of overthink these guys. And, he'll never play in a 3-3 stack in the NFL because D coordinators just can't get away with that type of stuff. The offensive linemen are too good. But what he will do in the league is long arm things, play, just play. So, who he really reminds me of with his length He really reminds me of Jalen Phillips. And Jalen Phillips had a rise 2 years ago in the Gregory Rousseau draft, and everybody's like, well, why would Jalen Phillips get drafted before Rousseau, this, that, and the third? And we've seen that he's been a really nice player for Miami. It's because that build and the way that he's able to play against the run and give you pass rush is second to none. And, it's his body, but the twitch is also matched with his body. So Tyree Wilson, top 10 player for sure.
So do you see when I saw the 6'6", 271, we always get flashbacks of the Tacos of the world, right? Those long guys that don't have the super bendiness, but they have the length. Is he more length or is he more athlete?
See, it's kind of weird because he's not Myles Garrett athletic, but he has good athletic. Like, he's a good athlete. Like, he has good athleticism. But he's not Myles Garrett. But he's not Taco either. Like, he's just a better football player than Taco.
Yeah, because, boy, that was rough.
That was rough. And then it doesn't help that, the scheme and all. It was just rough. It was just a bad pick all the way around the board. But, no, I think that all seriousness, Tyree Wilson, he has a little bit more juice than a lot of people kind of give him credit for. And people have to take into account what he was being asked to do at Texas Tech.
Now, this next fella, man, is one that just kind of rose above the ranks here over the last couple months in Nolan Smith. 6'2", 238, super athlete, becoming a fan favorite of Cowboys community here. Some people have him higher, some have him lower. But where do you stand on Nolan Smith? I know we talked about him a little bit on the roundtable, but now you got a chance to kind of just focus on him yourself.
So, I mean, the kid is outstanding. 4'3", 32-inch arms. I mean, 41-inch verse, Sky. What are we talking about? Like, Micah Parsons really Micah Parsons got Nolan Smith drafted. Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to say, I'm going to try to use him like Dallas used Micah Parsons. Now, if you remember, there has been players with the same measurables as Micah Parsons. His name was Isaiah Simmons. But Isaiah Simmons has not had the success in the league of a Micah Parsons, and the reason being is because who's been his defensive coordinator? I couldn't even tell you. But Dan Quinn actually having a plan for Micah Parsons, it's been Micah Parsons. Because if you just came in and you just said, hey, Micah Parsons just play off ball, well, will we be looking at Micah Parsons the same? No. He has a specific role. He's a closer. Yeah, he's a speed pitcher. He does those things. We're going to match him up across with your worst offensive lineman and let him go to work. I think Nolan Smith is kind of different in that way, in the sense that Nolan actually plays the run very well for his size.
It's crazy because you would never think that if you just look at him, but then when you watch the film, he's like, is he 6'4", 260? He's not.
He's so violent with his hands. He's extremely violent with his hands, and that's one of the things that, to me, it says he is going to be in the right scheme a stud. Now, what you can't have him do is you can't have him, as a 4-eye taking on double teams. But if you want to have him kind of set the edge of a 3-4 backer, he's a stud, Sky. He's a stud.
I like what you said about having a Dan Quinn type because Nolan Smith, I think with Dan Quinn, his value is probably higher than maybe what your run-of-the-mill type coordinator that's kind of been bouncing around the league that doesn't have that same respect. I think Dan Quinn will find a way. And that's the thing about all these edges. I think Dan Quinn will find a way to incorporate them within his system like he did with Sam last year.
Yeah, no, and that's what you're looking for. I think that what happens when, like I said, with quarterbacks, if you try to retool these guys too fast, you end up with Taco Charlton. If you come in and say, hey, let's figure out what you're good at right now, and let's make you successful in that vein, and then as you get better, as you get bigger, then we'll go ahead and make you better, and other aspects of your game.
So, Foots, what happened to this guy here in Miles Murphy? Because I feel like when the draft process started, he was right up there with the Tyrees of the world. Maybe he still is. But I look at your list and you got him, fourth. I look at others, he's sliding down further. Like, why is he kind of an enigma here from the edge department?
So one of the interesting things about Miles Murphy is I don't know how I would use him at the next level, Sky. And what I mean by that is he's not super bendy. He's not super athletic. He can't stand up and play off ball, but he doesn't have the tools or the length. Like, he has good length, but it's not like Tyree Wilson length, right? And he has good twist, but it's not amazing twist. Now, he has 18.5 sacks, and he's decent he's actually really good against the run. But he reminds me so much of DeMarcus Lawrence. It's scary. But where was DeMarcus Lawrence drafted?
Second round.
He was drafted, exactly. So you're not taking – I mean, that's not a knock on DeMarcus Lawrence, but you take a twist and a speed guy like Von Miller, like Micah Parsons in the top of the first round. You don't take, somebody who's going to stand the run up and, be a tackle for loss guy in the first round. So that's kind of like the best way. And this isn't – I don't want to – your platform reaches a lot of people, so I don't want to knock Miles Murphy at all. I'm just saying – that's kind of why he's falling down for me, because I just don't see the same tools as these other guys. And I honestly, there's, the next player on my list, you could probably switch him as well with Miles Murphy, just because when I saw the workout and the traits, it's amazing.
Yeah, so are you talking about, you're not talking about Van Ness, or not Van Ness, are you talking about Will McDonald?
I'm talking about Will McDonald.
Man.
I am. I'm very high on Will McDonald.
Yeah.
Extremely high.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on Will. Yeah, give us your thoughts on Will, because we know, on the roundtable we had a lengthy conversation about Will McDonald. Vach is trying to get people on board with Will McDonald, but the tape, he didn't have the same production, right, in 2022, but you saw the same trace that got him the production in 2020 and 2021.
I mean, listen, 34 sacks, total is amazing. He played in that 3.35, which I don't like. He's only 239 pounds, but again, the traits, guy. What are we looking for? We're looking for traits. You look at the bend, you look at the vert, 36 inches. The traits, guy. The bend, the bend. You can see that he can pick up a quarter while turning, and that's what you're looking for, because when those tackles have been setting all game, and then now you can get on the edge. He's very Robert Quinn-esque. Robert Quinn, believe it or not, has had that's his comp for me, because Robert Quinn was a lighter guy coming into the league.
He was.
And McDonald put on weight, Scott. Like, he'll get bigger. I mean, his frame, you can see clearly that his frame will stand for him to be able to get 20, 30 pounds bigger. You just don't know if he's going to lose that athleticism. And obviously, year one, he won't be that. But this guy, to me, he just screams off the tape, because in a 3-3 stack, for those of you listening who don't know, it's just hard because of basically the alignment and what you're asked to do with dealing with those tackles, and teams run so many double teams, so you got to take care of that first. You really can't just go get the quarterback. If I had Will McDonald year one, just go get the quarterback, Will. Just be a game wrecker. And I think that the right defensive coordinator who looks at this guy, looks at his speed, looks at his height and his arm length, they're going to say, man, let's just let him get the quarterback year one, and we'll worry about the rest as he gets better. As he gets older.
And this is a guy who is more in a realistic range. We talk about Will Anderson when we talk about Tyree Wilson and those guys. This is more or less just kind of viewing the edge class, right, from top to bottom. Well, top to the about, let's say, second round. But Will McDonald is a real life chance that you can get him, to the point that I think that's why you saw Dan Quinn go out there and work him out. And we saw this happen last year. They went out and worked out Sam Williams, and Dan Quinn fell in love with Sam Williams. Now, could you say overkill with Sam Williams and Will McDonald and Micah and D-Law? Maybe. But again, going into next year, or after next year, you're not going to have at least 3 or 4 of these guys due to them being on one-year deals. So maybe Dan is looking ahead. Maybe the Cowboys look ahead, and they just say, we can't pass up on a guy with these type of traits.
Yeah, and I mean, he has some outside linebacker ability too. If Dan wants to change his fronts up a little bit. See, Dan Quinn is the DC that I trust with these guys,
right?
Because he's seen it all. He knows, he's seen it all. He'll have a plan. He'll run different packages out there. He's not so Rod Marinelli-esque that he's like, oh, this is what we do no matter what. That's not Dan Quinn, and I appreciate that in him. And I think that's what makes him a good coach. He's shown the ability to adjust. He's shown the ability to camouflage with his packages. I mean, Sam Williams got a lot of reps, a lot, like in big-time moments. And that's the part where you say, if you did draft a Will McDonald, now you have Will, Micah, Sam, our veterans that we brought back, D-Law still. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you always have to take into account. Yeah, you got a plethora. And listen, there's no team that's going to complain about having too many pass rushers. I don't care what anybody says, because that's where it starts. It makes everybody's job easier. It makes the secondary, the linebackers, everybody's job easier. It's like when these guys are just running on the field fresh and they're just making plays, it could be dangerous. So if you have him graded a certain way, Scott, you draft him. You can't worry about, because the rest of the draft will fall in your lap. But if you have him graded, because like you said, it's a need.
It's fair that you say that, because remember what happened to the Cowboys last year at the end of the season? They went on a weird streak where they just really couldn't finish the pressures, and they really couldn't get as much pressure as they were at the beginning of the year. The reason why the Cowboys defense was on a historic pace was because it was the scariest pass rush in the NFL. Like, it was at one point the scariest pass rush. Then, Micah gets dinged up. D-Law isn't finishing the sacks like he was at the beginning of the year. Dorrance Armstrong disappeared. He wasn't a pass rush guy anymore. Dante Fowler was trying to keep that up, but you really didn't have that wave that you had at the start of the season. I think this is why I believe this position could be very sneaky, a sneaky pick. I think that Dan could look back and say, look, yeah, we brought all these guys back, but we also saw what happened when you don't have enough of those top tier type of toolsy, tradey, pass rushy guys. Because look, let's be honest, Dorrance Armstrong is not a top tier rusher, bro. Like, he got a lot of his sacks early in his career off of playing next to certain guys, and that happens, right? And he did make some plays, but he's not a guy you fear. Dante Fowler is one of those guys that I think has a top end pass rush ability. Michael Parsons, I think, has top end pass rush ability. D-Law is more of a run guy now that can get some pressure, but you wouldn't call D-Law an elite pass rusher anymore. So while, yes, we have a lot of names in there, and Sam Williams is a young guy that is obviously still developing. While you have a lot of names, you really got, in my opinion, Michael Parsons, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams is kind of your juice guys that you can count on. Mm-hmm. But if any one of those guys slow down, your pass rush slows down.
Your pass rush slows down, and we have to – fans don't want to hear this, but you always have to keep an eye open for the future. The truth of the matter is DeMarcus Lawrence probably won't be on this team next year. So just like that – I mean, not next year, the year after that.
2024.
And so, 2024. And so just like that, that now becomes a need. Well, what if you have a chance to jump on top of it? You develop Sam Williams. You now have a Will McDonald or somebody else that you graded a certain way, and now you're set. You still have Micah. You pay Micah, and Micah can still stay in the role that he's in now, where he can just do whatever he wants because he's that good, and you let him.
So I keep talking myself into this Will McDonald, because you just said something. You can low key, if you take a guy like him, don't got to be him, but essentially a right defense end, right, a speed rusher. Sam Williams, I think, has the built and the temperament to play on that left side. Yeah, he might not be 270. He may not be 269, but he's 255, something like that. And he could stand to put his frame is great. He could put on some 260, and you got yourself a solid left defensive end size wise, but he has the juice, the speed, and the power, and he plays the run well. I think Sam could be your D-Law replacement, and now you get a speed rusher like Will to complement him, and Micah can remain that kind of chess piece that Dan Quinn likes to use him as.
Man, I'm telling you, and that's the part where we got to remember, Michael Parsons is still going to be the best player on his team.
Yes.
So I'm not mad at taking a reverse, like the same way that you would put weapons around Dak. Why not do the same thing with Micah? In the sense that, like, I know everybody says, okay, well, let's get a 1 technique or a 3 technique. I hate to say it like this, y'all, but 1s and 3s, and I tweeted this, they just don't affect the game the same way pass rushers do. That's why pass rushers consistently go in the top 10. They just don't affect the game. When it's down the wire and it's fourth quarter and everybody's tired, you need an athlete that's going to scream off the edge. You need a guy that can beat that tackle. I mean, I love 1s, but you never talk about a 1 or a 0 finishing the game, Sky. You just don't.
No.
You talk about Michael Parsons, you talk about Von Miller, and that's the difference. That's what I try to get people to understand. I do like Mozzie Smith. I do like Cansey. I do. But they just don't affect the game in the same way as defensive ends, as corners, as quarterbacks, as left tackles. So that's why it's tricky.
So yes, right. Like defensive ends are the money 5, right? Because of the effectiveness in a passing league. However,
right.
If you are one of them ones at defensive tackle, you absolutely affect the game, right? Like the Buckners, the Armsteads, the Paynes, the Allens, the Readers, all the dudes that the Eagles had, the Chris Jones. And those are a lot of those are 3. But I do think that we're trending towards giving a little bit more respect to the interior guys that affect the game that way. It's probably not as many, but I think that number is increasing more and more because those guys are becoming more athletic on the interior. So I hear what you're saying, but I have a slight pushback on it because I do think if you got one of them guys in the middle, man, they can absolutely wreck the game.
So, and what's crazy is we haven't got to Van Ness and DJ Ojolari, but I actually like Van Ness more inside.
Let's talk about Van Ness. I was going to go Ojolari next, but let's talk about Van Ness, man, because I'm conflicted on this dude, and you said it right there. You like him more inside than outside.
He's one of those ones. You're absolutely right. Aaron Donald, right?
Aaron Donald, that was out.
He's a generational guy. And you're right about, you made a good point about Chris Jones, who was, by the way, drafted in the second round.
Yep. Justin Simmons, second round. First round, sorry. But
whoa, my gosh. I think it was later in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. Middle round.
But Justin Simmons is definitely him.
Yeah, there's a good amount of them dudes, man, on the interior that just affect the game. But can Van Ness be a guy like that?
Van Ness, the question that I have about Van Ness, is he AJ Epinesa or is he TJ Watt? Like, I just, you know what I mean, JJ Watt. Like, is he a one of the Watt brothers? To me, he would make, when I saw his rushes from inside, I loved him a lot more than I did on the edge. He has absolutely no pass rush moves. And that's going to hurt at the next level because you can't just bully people. You can't just bull rush people. Now, his athletic traits were really good. But, the testing was good, runs great in a straight line. But people have to understand football is not played in a straight line. So that's the part where I just get kind of worried with Van Ness, and that's why I don't have him as high as everybody else because I just didn't see enough pass rush moves. Now, the motor obviously is outstanding, but is it more AJ Epinesa? Is it more, try hard? And if that's the case, why isn't he playing 3? So that's why he's not where he is for me, Sky. Like, a lot of people have him as their number 2 edge. I'm just like, well, I don't follow that trend. And I'm not gonna subscribe for that because, I know. What did you think about Van Ness when you watch him, Sky? Maybe it's just me.
No, I agree. That's why I was kind of a bit excited about the interior thing because and I'm biased, right? I'm working on my biases when it comes to edge guys. I'm not enamored with the kind of bulky pass rusher type of dude unless he's extremely powerful. And I don't see the same athleticism. And Ben Ye ran a 4.58 or whatever it was at the combine. But I like my edge rushers to be able to get that type of bend or have that type of athleticism out there. But from the interior is a different ball game now, right? Because now I can use that quickness against guards and not these top tier type of tackles. Now I can use that IQ I think that he plays with against these guards. So I'm with you. That's why I wanted to hear what you had to say about him inside, because that's kind of where I would love to. Now, in Dan Quinn's offense or defense, so let's talk about this for a second. Dan Quinn likes to move these dudes around. So, and he worked Lucas Van Ness out. So I wonder if he looks at him as another type of chess piece, but just on the defensive line.
And that's where you say now he's outstanding against the run. And you know, Iowa players are going to be disciplined football players. So I don't think that he would come into this team and he would be disciplined day one, do his job, and would probably be on the field. But it's like, who are you taking off the field for this guy? Now, the arm length is what really the arm length and the size, the 6'5" size, is what really it says. This guy has some real traits. And he could play inside. I think that he could play a 3. I think he could play a 4-eye. Really, 4-eye 3 is really where I have. For those of you guys who don't know what a 4-eye is, it's you just pretty much head up over the tackle, like directly over top of him. You got a two-way go. You're pressing both sides. He could do that well. But I just, like you said, when you're talking about getting the edge guy, you're right. The bulky, no bend, like he has absolutely no hips, and that's a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, can't have that.
And, yeah, he has none. And so the change direction is also kind of scary too, because again, you playing against shiftier guys in the league, you got to be able to change, you know, all that type of stuff. So I do like him inside, but I mean, again, it's 6 sacks. You know, you had the image up on the screen. He will get drafted, and the team will try to make him an edge. I just don't know if he goes to the wrong defensive coordinator. This guy, it has a potential to me for a bust.
Man, I've seen him mock top 10, and I've seen him, you know, down the bottom of the first round. So he's another one of those kind of Miles Murphy types where it depends how you feel about him. This last guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
B.J. Ojulari, I believe family member of the other Ojulari. Didn't he go to the Giants, the other Ojulari?
Yeah. Plays with the Giants. Yeah, pretty good player.
Yeah. B.J. Ojulari seems to be flying under the radar amongst all these edge guys. And I want to hear, because I have not studied Ojulari just yet, but I've seen his name pop up here and there, but not amongst those guys. Chat and Foots, give me your thoughts on B.J. Ojulari if you've checked him out, Chat. And I know, Foots, you have.
So the pressures were really good. Like, you know what I mean? He really gets around the quarterback. Doesn't always finish the play. But he's another one of those guys, you know, 19 sacks. He's long and explosive. He's kind of really a splitting image build-wise of his brother, but I think that he may have just a hair more juice. Now, what you got to find out from him is, and again, I sound like a broken record, but scheme. Like, do you want him as a 3-4 guy, or do you want his hand in dirt? He did a little bit of both at LSU. You know, there were reps, Sky, and when you go watch, you'll see him dropping in the coverage. So, like, he's comfortable doing that. Whereas, you know, some of these guys like Van Ness, you would never ask him to drop in the coverage. So that's where the intrigue is. Kind of like a poor man's Will McDonald, but an SEC football player. So SEC, speed, athleticism, going to get drafted higher than, you know, an Iowa defensive tackle or, you know, Harrison from Ohio State, just because of the conference that he played in and just the traits that he showed. So, you know, I think that in a perfect world, Sky, he probably doesn't fit our scheme because he's probably more of just a stand-up outside backer.
Okay.
But so that's probably, you know, if you're talking about for the Cowboys, just being real, he's probably more of a stand-up outside backer. But when you watch him, you know you can make your judgment for him. I think that he can put his hand in the dirt, but he just didn't do it a lot. And so that's the thing. But he does have that rush ability as well.
So before I let you go, of these guys, I believe it was 7 guys that we took a look at. Most of these dudes are day one guys. Say again?
Mm-hmm. I said we went overtime. I like that we went more than 5. We went 7. It's a lot of good players, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even touch on, you know, some of the more of the day 2 guys, day 3 guys, but there's some other traitsy guys here. But of this group, of these 7, just of the ones you talked about, Who would you be most excited about the Cowboys taking?
So obviously there's a realistic approach.
My bad. Because Will McDonald, Tyree, well, that probably not gonna happen. But so I should say, really, of the 5 that you believe could fall to the Cowboys.
So for me, Scott, it's interesting. Will McDonald and Nolan Smith are the 2 that you do a backflip for. The thing is, I think Nolan could possibly fall, and we'll talk about this when we do. We'll be going live talking about all these players. But how are teams going to play a 6'3", 237-pound edge rusher? How? Who? Teams get scared of those measurables. You get what I'm saying? Dallas won't, but teams do. So Nolan is the one, and he doesn't have the most production because he was buried on the depth chart for a couple of years at Georgia. And so that's where teams will say, well, why are we drafting this guy with, 6 sacks or whatever the number is? That's not enough production for me. You see what I'm saying, Scott? So he's the one that if he falls, we say what Bosh always says, well, teams suck at drafting. Thank you. He's the one that's very interesting for me that I would say I would do a backflip. And then obviously Will McDonald is the one. Will and Nolan are the 2 that I say Myles Murphy is so interesting, but I'm just not drafting a run-stopping defensive end at 26. Like, if I'm going to draft you at 26, I want the traits to be outstanding. And the 4.39 on this defense with Micah, sign me up for that with Nolan Smith and Will McDonald. But like you said, I mean, let's be honest, dude. Like, Felix from Kansas State, Derek Hall, like, this is actually a sneaky deep class. Keon White, Georgia Tech can go. You know what I mean? Mike Morris is a good player, Scott. So this is a really sneaky DN class, and what you have said is so true. Dallas has to look at this position, to me, in the first 4 rounds and think about drafting a player.
I think they will, man. I don't think it's a coincidence that you see Dan Quinn working out the Luke Van Nesses and the Will McDonalds of the world. And you brought up Will McDonald. I just can't help but think about Sam Williams. Now, Sam had more production his final season, but Will had more production overall. And they very similar. Worked them out. Both worked out. Sam worked out Will. Both were playing kind of out of position their final years in college, and it seems like the team is taking a liking to him. So I will be ecstatic if they got a Will McDonald on day 2.
Yeah, no. Man, 110%, Scott. And now the question is, does he last till day 2? You be on pins and needles. But if he did, that could be a situation where Dallas trades up. I mean, if he banking on Will McDonald lasting to that 58th pick, I don't know, Scott. He's that good. I don't know.
Well,
you know?
Yeah. I know that's the only thing about this situation, right? Is guys like that, will they make it? Will they make it to 58?
Yeah. Isaiah Foskey is another name, Scott.
Foskey,
that I want Chad Box to kind of chime in. Yeah, from Notre Dame. I want Chad Box to kind of give me their thoughts on him. But this is a really I'm telling you, this class, DN corner, really loaded, Scott. Loaded. Like, these guys, there's going to be a name that comes out of this group that, like, oh, wow, I was low on him, and he comes in and he's a productive player year 1. Sure.
Well, all right, brother. I appreciate you joining me, man, every week talking about these prospects, man. Let them know where they can find your work, whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, bro.
Man, Scott, it's like fine wine. We get better with time. Puts the King everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, just always talking draft, always coming up with ideas. And thank you, Scott, for having me.
Always, bro. Make sure y'all follow my guy and check out all his work, his exceptional work across all platforms. I'll get with you later, Foots, to talk exactly about the draft and whatnot, bro.
Peace.
Salute. That is my guy, Foots the King, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a clue bomb from my man. Always bringing the heat, the energy, and quality draft takes. It's not many people I go to when it comes to this draft thing. Handful. Foots is definitely one of them. All right, let's take a quick little coffee break, water break, whatever you want to call it. We'll come back. We can hit the phone lines, talk to you guys in the chat a little bit, talk to you guys on the phone lines. If you want to call in, jump in, 351-999-3787. You give me your take on this edge class, on the Cowboys potentially. Do you think they should even take a guy in the top 100? Do you look at edge rusher as a non-need or what have you? But let's talk about it, Cowboys Nation. Speaking of ED, if you need to get your edge back, Boston Scientific can help you out. In the U.S., more than 39 million men suffer from ED, and Boston Scientific created edcure.org to help you find your best cure. To get started, you head to edcure.org, you take the quiz, you learn the severity or risk that you have of ED, and if you have a condition that puts you at a higher risk, boom, you'll find customized content. Easy peasy. The fastest way to find your best cure is to contact a specialist in your area or visit edcure.org. Brought to you by Boston Scientific. Say it with me, y'all. It ain't hard, but you can be.
You're listening to A to Z Sports.
Do it live!
At some point, hoping to broadcast
In front of the millions.
of Cowboys fans to bring you the real. But for now, strap up and here's your host, Skywalker Steele.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
We'll do it live.
Blicky got the stiffy. It's crazy. Stop. Stop. I apologize, Boston Scientific. This didn't go like you thought it was going to go, did you? Yo. Y'all are out of this world. I'm not reading that toxic. I've scanned your Boston Scientific comments. You're crazy. You're crazy, man. Iceberg says starter kit Will McDonald is a poor man's Micah Parsons. Sign me up for that. So Will McDonald, poor man's Micah. Look, shit. You give me a homeless man's Micah Parsons, I'll take it. Let's hit up DJ real quick, man. Good morning, good sir. I hope I ain't mess up your morning today like I did yesterday, bro.
Hey, no, man, we're all good. We're all good. Just the only thing, hey, I'm driving. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly fine, man.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Hey, man, it's always a pleasure hearing you and Foots kind of get into it with these I guess Tuesday morning draft recaps or
the prospects, yeah.
Yeah. And what I was really listening to is Lucas Van Ness. He's always been a guy that I'm like, whatever. And I hadn't even considered the idea of moving him inside, which makes perfect sense now that y'all say it, right? But it's just nothing that I thought of individually. And when it comes to that, because I didn't even have him as like a first-round guy, I undoubtedly thought somebody would take him, and I was like, hey, that's a second, third-round dude, just kind of if you're just doing an edge. But as an interior guy with the strength and the power and the nuance that he plays with leverage, that would be almost that brings him all the way back up to a first-round guy for me, for sure. And if you could promise me that Dallas would do that with him, then I have no problem with them taking him. But undoubtedly, I feel like they would still try to work him in at the edge and try to make that work out if they got him.
Yeah, so for him, and this is why I kind of brought this up with Foots and having a guy like Dan Quinn who runs a multiple front. The Cowboys are going to run some things where it looks like an Osa is playing 5-tech, right? Where these guys are doing more 3-4 things or odd front things. And I think if Van Ness, puts on a little bit of weight, not put on too much, but he gets in that 280-ish area or so, he can do some 5-tech things for you and also slide in. I think you want your 3-tech at the very least got to be 280 plus. I don't think you want a guy that's smaller than that and plays smaller than that. But he plays powerful, right? He plays well against the run. He uses his strength more than speed, which is why I'm not a fan of him being just like a pure defensive end guy. The tweeners always bother me unless they show that pass rush production, right? Like a lot of people calling this man J.J. Watt. Like, all right, he got to show me he J.J. Watt before I say he J.J. Watt.
Yeah, you don't just get that. You don't just get it. We don't just go hand that to you.
No. Because J.J. could beat you in a multitude of different ways. But Van Ness could be a weird chess piece for for Quinn if he were to be here, but I personally would like Will McDonald better.
Hey, that's where I'm at. Will McDonald or really, I really kind of settled in on this Mozzie thing. I was against it at first, but I've kind of, if he's there in the first, I don't think he'll be there past the 40s anyway. And if you get wiped out with everything else, all the other luxury picks that would be nice to have, I think that'd be the way to go. But that's addressing a different kind of conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're going purely edge, then yeah, Will McDonald would be the one to go with.
Yeah, I think they'll be in a situation where they'll be able to pick a guy. It's just, if I had to guess right now, February or April 4th, if I had to guess, I think no matter who they pick, there will be a lot of gash and gnashing at the teeth, right? Because you're like, man, they could have got him later. But I feel like that's where the Cowboys are at pick 26. Unless a guy falls to you, right, that you have as a round one guy or top 16 like Cowboys had Tyler Smith, you're probably looking at guys that you're going to come away and say, man, I could have got him in the second round. So I'm eliminating the thought process right now. I'm looking at it as, will that pick make sense for what this team needs to get better, not only this year, but the following years? And if that happens, I'll get over my emotions of the pick and we'll make sense of it.
Fair. I mean, there's a certain point where, because from the draft community, we love like, oh, well, we should have gotten, Diggs,
yeah,
even though CD was there, right, or whatever. Not saying that anybody's saying that, but that line of thinking, that's an extreme example. But that, to make my point, is if you're just looking at, oh, well, this is my guy, this is who I'm looking at because this is who should be there, and it doesn't really matter how the board falls or whatever, you'll miss out on, extreme high-value guys just because you're overthinking this thing.
Yeah, there's an emotional side to it, right? We all have players we really, really like. And then there's the need to want to be right as well, right? Like, hey, look, I called this, I called that. But seriously, I mean, that's just the human part of all this. And that's why I don't pretend to be a draft analyst. I don't pretend to be a GM. I just try to say, okay, does this make sense now? And I think that's helped me over the years because I got my heart broken. I tell y'all the story all the time. I quit putting all my heart into any of these damn prospects because all it's going to do is just going to rip your heart out when you don't get the guy you want, man. And that's how I'm able to move along in this situation.
Exactly. Well, that's all I got for you this morning, Scott. I'll let you get back to it, brother.
Appreciate you, fam. Let's get 205. Looks like King Revis.
What's going on with you, Sky?
What up, though?
Been listening to you a long time, man. First time ever calling in, though. I've listened to you, Botch, Law, Boss Cowboy, all of y'all, Mark, all y'all since the beginning, man.
Man, we got deep community, brother, and we appreciate guys like you.
Yeah, and I be checking out Landlord because he's down here by me.
Landlord got the trap house. He killing it too, man.
Yeah, man, but I was sitting up going through all the little back channels, and I be listening to Mike Fisher a little bit, too. I heard a little scenario where they'll trade the run for the third round pick, the 75th pick. Would you think about that, getting the extra third, then in the draft, trading from 26 back to about 30, getting another third or a second? Now you got 2 seconds and 2/3 or 3/3 to get to them guys that we trying to get to.
All right, let's run this thing back. Let's start from the top. So what was the first part of the trade you said?
Trade the Russ Armstrong to, I think they said the Arizona Cardinals for pick number 75.
So Armstrong for a third.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then after that, you were saying use that third to go up?
You can use that third to go up to get into them guys that we like into in the second and the third, and also in the draft, if you wanted to get Will McDonald, you trade from 26 back to like 30, 31, pick up McDonald plus an extra second and third. Now you can get even more of them guys.
I mean, in your world of, man, so DA for a third, I might actually be down. I might be down. If that third is securing me Will Armstrong, and so it's a lot of movement. So you trade DA for a third, use that third to go up, or did 26 to 31. It's a lot of moving here, man. Let's start off from the top. DA for a third. Cowboys Nation, would you trade Dorrance Armstrong for a third round pick? I'd have to think about that one, bro. I really would, because I'm losing defense and depth, right? What am I replacing it with? Is all.
What if you replacing it with Will McDonald?
Well, there we go.
Those guys
There we go. You guarantee me I'm replacing it with Will McDonald all day and tomorrow. Let's make it work. Because I watched my team go through a weird defensive end situation last year, at pass rush situation. A third, though, is very enticing because you get 4 years on a guy. If it's a dude like Will McDonald, shit, sign me up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, that'll be cool. Then you can get with them extra thirds, you can get, or seconds, you can try to get a running back and Moffitt, something like that.
Yeah. You put yourself in position to get, premium. I consider third round premium. 1, 2, 3. I consider premium. So you get another premium type of pick. You could pick up another one of those type players, and you're gonna, once you get to the third round, I guarantee you a lot of people are going to be like, oh well, we reached for XYZ. That's where we're at with this draft. I don't think there is a lot after that third where you're looking at it and saying it was a steal, unless somebody like N'Kobe Dean, he falls.
Right.
Hey, man, I appreciate the call, King. Good scenario to bring up, man. I'm going to talk to the chat about it.
Appreciate you, my brother. Be up.
You too.
How
Salute.
about them boys?
How about them, baby? Steal them balls. DA for a third on a 1-year deal. Yeah, I mean, just alone, that's enticing. Before you even start thinking about everything else, it's enticing. So then when you start thinking, you say, okay, well, you're losing depth. Are you comfortable with losing depth if you can replace it? If I can replace it, I think you're signing up for that all day and tomorrow. Right? Let's say you don't, though. Let's play this game. Let's be in this world. Let's say you trade DA, but you don't replace him with the Will, BJ Ojolari, or any of these dudes we talked about today. I think what you can talk yourself into is, well, Dorrance Armstrong, right? Or not Dorrance Armstrong, but Sam Williams. My apologies. We're trading Dorrance Armstrong. It's Sam Williams. Sam Williams taking over for Dorrance Armstrong. So now Sam is getting 28 to 32 snaps, 32 to 35 snaps. And then Dante is getting, 18 to 25 snaps. Excuse me. So you'd have Dante, Sam, Mike, obviously doing a lot of things. D-Law. Not as deep, though. Not as deep. DP says, what we doing with Tack? I think Tack for me is TBD. Like, let's see what happens in training camp. But this is interesting, though, right, DP? Say they were comfortable moving off of DA for 3. I bet you that's because they probably think about something for Tack McKinley. They probably think Tack can give you something, and now you put him in that ladder in regards to depth. Me personally, I'm waiting right now. I want to get to camp, see how Tack is looking, see if he can actually be a part of this team, or is he just going to be a camp body, roster cut. But if he can be something, you don't think twice about the DA thing. I think you can pause a little bit when you think about worried about somebody goes down. You don't got much depth. But if you have DA, you got some depth. But if you think on the positive side, I get a 3rd round pick. That means I get 4 years control. I could possibly use that pick to get a Will McDonald, as the guy said. You would have sold me on that for sure. You would have sold me on that. C said, if one guy gets hurt, you're calling a guy from the practice squad. No Tack is who he is, a journeyman, overdrafted. And that's my worry, right? Like, if you can't guarantee I'm replacing that guy, one of these young studs, it gets strange a little bit, because you look, and I know Danny loves to talk about the run defense. Look, we all want to be better against the run. There's no doubt about it. But your defense was one of the best, trending to be one of the best we've seen in years, right? Because you were historically an absolute monster at getting after the pass rusher. You were a monster at it. And you were hunkering down in the red zone too, right? And once that pass rush kind of got thwarted a little bit, you saw the defense get weird. You saw the defense start to get weird, and instead of sacks on 3rd and long, it's conversions. And now, all right, now we can just start running a little bit here, and you got to that weird spot where Green Bay ran on you and the Jags ran on you. You didn't have, Hankins either. And you had all these teams kind of running a little bit on you. But the Cowboys are going to be a top flight defense because they just got a Micah Parsons and the Sams and the Dantes and the D-Laws that get after you and get after you and get after you. Adding interior guys is going to help against the run. I don't think adding an interior guy is the end all be all is going to help for sure. But if Dallas is, let's just play a game, another game. If Dallas is 8th against the run, but they have a supreme dip in the pass rushing department, meaning they go from being a top 3 sack team, pressure team to 15th in the league, 16th in the league, whatever, right? Like middle of the pack or lower because they trade Lawrence Armstrong, Dante's not the guy anymore, or what have you, right? I'd rather flip it. I would rather flip it because you're going to need to get after the quarterback 100% if you're going to be one of them ones from a defensive standpoint, man. You're going to need to be able to do it. I'd rather be solid at stopping the run, elite at rushing the passer. I could be elite at stopping the run, but if I'm average at rushing the passer, I just drop back and be fine, right? So it's a chicken and egg. But the Cowboys don't need to be elite at stopping the run. That's not even what we're asking for. We just need the Cowboys to be better. The Titans lost. They scored 16 points, Danny. Did they even score 16 points? 14 points, 13 points, whatever it was? The Titans game ain't the game you want to talk about. You want to talk about Green Bay. You want to talk about Jacksonville. You want to talk about maybe the first Washington game. Then they scored like 20 points or something like that. Maybe. I don't even know if they scored 20. But Chicago, that was a lot of their quarterback. Their quarterback had, what was it, y'all? Like 90 yards or something weird. Their quarterback had a lot of yards. When Hankins was in the game, Hankins shut him down. They averaged less than 4 yards per carry on the ground. When Hankins was not in the game, they had more success running it. But guys, like teams that ran on you from a running back standpoint, it was Philly, who was more of a we ran it 40 times type of thing. They didn't average a lot of yards. It was Green Bay. It was Washington. It was, who am I missing here? Jacksonville. And obviously game 1, the Bucks. Like those guys. Those guys kind of ran on you with their running backs. So, you need to be better for sure. But the Cowboys were what they were from a defensive standpoint because teams were absolutely terrified of their pass rush. Terrified. And they were okay enough in the run game. Like you don't start off 4-1 and you're the worst run defense in the world. And you have one of the best. Like they weren't one of the worst run defenses in the world at the time. They recognized they could be better, so they went out and got a Hankins. And they should want to get better from there. But the Cowboys were the best defense in the league at one point because they had the best pass rush in the league. 404, what it is, what it do?
What it is, Scott. It's Sports Guru 95 calling in, man.
What up, Sports Guru?
Not much, man. Enjoying the show as usual, man. Caught a little bit of y'all talk on the edge. And I'm with Foots. I like Ojulari. I like McDonald. Didn't think about Van Ness moving inside, but I mean that'll be a good a good move for him. But Foots was talking about that 4-eye. That 4-eye is on the inside eye of the tackle, not heading up the tackle. And I think Van Ness would be a good play, good player to play that 4-eye rush from the inside. But what about Golston? Anybody missing? What about Golston? Maybe
that's fair.
If you do that trade with Armstrong, because I don't think Armstrong is good against the run. I don't think he sets that edge like needs to be. So if you go with a Van Ness, you can slide Golston out or put Van Ness out. Right.
Oh, well, so you're going the different route. I thought you were going Golston being your Van Ness. Unless they tell Golston to lose weight again, he's going to turn into your modern day Crawford. But it sounds like Golston is more your 5-tech, 3-tech guy. He's more DT now than he is pass rush edge guy. So I thought you were going to say, well, we don't need a Van Ness if you use Golston in that way. I say that's fair.
Well,
And Van Ness they both come from Iowa, but Van Ness is more of a round one guy, and Golston was more of a day 3, late day 2 guy. But but him replacing Dorrance, I would just say Sam Williams replaces Dorrance, and Golston kind of remains your 5-tech, 3-tech type. Yeah. That's
you think Van Ness is gonna go in the first round?
Yeah, I do. I think somebody would take him in the first round. It's funny that you were talking about Van Ness inside, and I was thinking about what I was saying to Foots. I'm like, I wonder if they would view him as a D-Law replacement, you know? But D-Law was taken in the second round, like Foots said. But they could view him as a left defensive end type who plays the run well and worries about the pass rush later.
Yeah, that I can see him doing that, but I don't. I mean, I think he could be a late first round guy. You know, maybe early second, but you know, as Vach always say, teams are bad at drafting, so somebody probably will.
Bruh, he is like the prototypical Bill Belichick pick. Yeah.
And I also got to disagree with Foots on that. You don't need no guy in the middle. Come on, man. It's some guys in the middle, man, that if you don't have Chris Jones in Kansas City, their edge guys are nothing without him. You got to block him. You got to block Simmons. You got to block Grady Jarrett. You got to block some of these 3-techs. So if they're not going edge, I want a guy in the middle, man. I like Mozzie. I think Mozzie plays in a system where, you know, he's more react than getting upfield. So I think if we can get Mozzie at 26 and he learns to get upfield, I think Mozzie would be a problem.
I'm biased. I view Mozzie as having the potential to be one of them ones on the interior that just a ridiculously difficult guy to deal with and can. I know he didn't have a lot of sack production, but I think he has the athleticism to be able to push the pocket and get to the quarterback a handful of times. So, yeah, I'm a big Mozzie.
I think he did a lot of two-gapping at Michigan, where he was basically just holding up the blocks and, you know, reading, trying to make the runs at the line of scrimmage. He didn't have a lot of tackle for losses, but sometimes your scheme prevents that from a guy. And I think that's what the problem was with Mozzie. Mozzie was, to me, I never seen him on rundowns. I never really seen him just get up the field. I did on pass downs, and you can see that he has that get up, and he can get up and attack the pocket, you know, and attack that gap. But I think with Michigan, he was more of, okay, hold the lineman up, keep them from getting on the linebackers and let our linebackers run free, as more of, if he comes with.
Cowboys could use that. You know, like the Cowboys could use a guy, and I always say all the time here, you know, that causes accidents, right? That redirects traffic, but also causes accidents. And when we got that with Hankins, you saw the difference it made from a run defense. I think Mozzie, I think he has a potential to be where Hankins was at his peak. You know, a guy who was a run guy, but if you go look at his peak, he was also getting to the quarterback a little bit. Now, that's not what he did, you know, historically over his career, but he had a season or two where he was getting to the Q.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to build these trenches, man. Get a guard and get a deep tackle, man, and get an edge guy. You know, I like that pick though that I'm hearing about. You know, trading Dorrance, and I wouldn't mind trading Gallup for something. You know, if you see a wide receiver, you know, or something where you want to go get him, and somebody will take Gallup off your hands, man. Because I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Gallup is just. We've seen the best of Gallup. I don't think Gallup is going to be that guy moving forward. So if we can move on from him, maybe trade him somewhere else, you know, and get a pick for him and pick up, Jones out of Purdue or Jonathan Mingo or somebody and get his replacement now, man. I'm not sold on Gallup anymore, man. I was a big fan, but I think Gallup just has reached his peak, and he's a hurt guy.
He's a hurt guy. He got some proving to do this year. I'm hoping that he can bounce back, man. Hey, appreciate the call. Let me get to the rest of the callers here, brother.
All right, no problem, man. Good show as always, bro.
Thanks, man. Knock these up. We got 1, 2, 3 left here. Chris said no one's taking Gallup until he proves he's healthy again. He's got some proving to do. No matter how big of a Gallup fan you are, I think you can agree with that. Like, came off his ACL injury. It is what it is. It usually takes a couple years. I don't think he's going to be any different than he was when he was healthy. Like, when I say healthy, I mean 2020, right? I think that's what he's going to be. Downfield guy, possession guy, make tough catches. And that's all they really probably need him to be now that you got CD Lamb and you got Cooks to kind of be your top two guys. So if Gallup can be a dependable quality wide receiver 3, that's great. I would like to see his catch percentage go up, and maybe it will, because maybe they won't be using him on a bunch of 50-50 balls downfield like they were in the beginning of his career. I know he's not going to create a lot of separation, and that could be the reason why you see his catch percentage so low. But he should get a lot of one-on-ones. Slants shouldn't be an issue with him. Flat shouldn't be an issue with him. I still worry about Diggs. I still worry about some of these hooks, these comeback routes with Gallup. That's just not him. I don't want to put him on stop routes. Keep his momentum going type. And I think you'll see his catch percentage go up. Let's get Danny in here. He's very vocal today in the chat. What up, Danny?
Hey, yo. Love Foots' breakdown of the DNs. Love Ojulari. Love him. And now, you know me, I'm day 3 Danny when it comes to the draft.
Oh, boy.
His teammate on LSU, his name is Ali Gay. That's his name. He's the opposite edge on LSU's team. Kid's taller, much better traits than Ojulari, but I love. Go ahead.
What number is he?
What happened? I don't even know what number he is, but I just watched the games. I spotted him 2 years ago.
Well, I'm asking because I got the Ojulari tape up, and I'm looking the opposite of him. I'm just trying to find his number.
He's the opposite, Ali Gay. He's bigger in size. He's a day 3 guy, but he's going to be a steal for someone on day 3. But I love Ojulari. I do love him. I mean, I think he's going to be a sleeper. With Dorrance, listen, I don't think we can get, if we packaged Dorrance and Michael Gallup, I don't think we can get a third for him. I think Micah makes everyone look better.
Sure.
But I think Micah made Dorrance look a lot better. You know, he chased a lot of guys into him.
Drafted hold on. Let me give Dorrance a little bit of credit this year, right? Because in 2021, Dorrance Armstrong was 5 of his 6 sacks were cleanup sacks to me. Like they were just pushed to him, or he was finishing guys. You saw him making some plays though at the start of the year, and that's why I was like, hey man, let me give Dorrance Armstrong credit, because I was just like you. Hey, he's getting these because everybody else is pushing it to him. But I thought Dorrance started to make some plays. But then that stopped. Dorrance Armstrong pretty much became the Dorrance Armstrong that, he is. And that's a role player, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, I'm with you, man. I do think obviously Micah makes guys a lot better. And I just think DA has a ceiling, and he's probably going to hit his ceiling a lot faster and a lot harder than anybody else.
I think Sam Williams is the future there.
Yes.
He plays with aggression. He plays with run. I don't even think we gave him enough plays last year. He's going to be bigger this year. Let him go.
I would
Let him attack.
30 snaps minimum a game for Sam, man. I feel like he can be that good.
Let him eat, and he plays with a nasty attitude that everyone don't have. Just jumping forward to with the guy Van Ness. He was a goon on the hockey play. He was a hockey player too in high school and a little bit in college. He was a goon. So if you're a goon on the hockey, listen, that's talent. To fight on skates, I can't fight on skates. You know what I'm trying to say? And Iowa had the nation's number 1 defense. They didn't have the nation's number 1 defense.
Iowa always got a good defense.
But I would slide him in the middle. Now listen, I don't have combine medicals. I'm not that guy. I just don't have it. But if Brian Barise is medical, if he checks out okay, he's not done growing. You could put another 20 pounds on him easily. I slide him inside, and I'll make a statement. I might get laughed at. I might be wrong. Brian Barise has J.J. Watt potential. If you watch Mozzie Smith versus TCU against Avila, who I'm not a big fan of, just because I like him better at center than guard, but I think he has a lot of Will Hernandez in him, Avila.
Yeah, you've been
if you
saying
watch
that a lot.
Michigan versus TCU, Mozzie looks like a community college player.
That's false.
And he just
you
didn't
gotta
have
stop. You gotta
a lot
stop
of,
exaggerating. That's false. Lies. Didn't happen.
I'm talking the playoff game.
Didn't happen. False. Lies.
This is the playoff game.
I'm just doing my Voss Lombardi thing. Why I don't understand draft people like y'all that take a game of a guy and that's how y'all base this guy off of, like as if there's not phenomenal tape. No, not just you. It's not just you. It's a lot of people that do this with all players. They look at one game, whether it's good or bad, and they like this is who he is. Look what he did here. He's like, what are we doing? I could find a bad game or an average game with everybody, man. I've seen Mozzie get at Will Avila or Will Hernandez, Will Avila as well. So I just think it's funny, man.
Listen,
that the draft people do that.
You shouldn't judge somebody off one game.
But y'all
You're
do.
100% right.
But that's what y'all do.
Yes, I agree with you. And
I don't
it's
understand
not fair. No, I agree with you 100%. But us draft guys have a habit of doing it, and it's wrong. And I agree with you there. But just getting back to the Will McDonald, I'm going to land the plane. I'm tired of Dan Quinn showing his hand. Why does he keep, is game film, pro day, combine, is that not enough? Do you then have to work out a player? At some point, some team's just going to jump in front of us and grab one of the guys we like. And I'm landing the plane on that. Great show as always. Love listening to Foots. He always has good info, and looking forward to. I missed the last 2 days. Missed the 1 day, Vach. I apologize. I've had the flu.
Get better, brother.
But
get better.
I'll be good. Drink the OJ. Drink to get the vitamin C in me. But look for Ali Gay.
Yeah, I just looked him up. Apparently, he's number 11. Yeah.
Yes, he's the day 3 guy. He's definitely a day 3 guy, but a sleeper. And looking forward to listening to you later on 306.
All right, bro. Appreciate it. You should definitely change your name during draft season to day 3, Danny. Danny will call in every show and give me a handful of day 3 guys, and we'll see if we hit on one of these dudes in the draft. We will see. We got 817 and then Los to end it up. So let's get 817. Not familiar with this number. What's up?
What's up, Master William?
What's happening, man?
Man, it's been a long time since I called on, so that's probably why you don't recognize it. But hey, man, I don't want to echo it. I got a question about what's up with Brian Brisset.
Yeah,
He's not getting a lot of.
That's what Danny just brought up, Brian Brisset.
I was shocked that he said it. I feel like I was the only one that was bringing it up. I talk a lot on the Twitter Spaces, so we talk a lot about this. But shout out to Knicks. What's up? Do you guys think that he's inconsistent? What does it do?
I mean, from what I'm hearing and feeling, is this more about his injuries and not sure if he can be the guy he was prior and not the guy that they saw on tape last year. That seems to be the concern amongst kind of the more prominent draft guys, right? Like if you look at 2021, you look at the past of Brian Brisset, you be like, man, top 10 pick, top 15 pick, whatever. You look at last year, you're like, I don't know, but you're picking on potential. He said he could be the next JJ Watt. I meant to ask him about that.
I don't see that.
Because JJ a little bit more linear, and I think he played, at least for the Texans, he played more outside. I mean, he slid inside, obviously. I don't know that Brisset's a guy that's going to kick outside a bunch. Even as a 5-tech, I feel like Brisset's more of a guy you want kind of playing in a traditional 4-3 inside. But I don't know about JJ. That's a bit tough. But I do think he's got an upside. I don't know where the Cowboys stand with him. Maybe he's a wild card, but Collegiate Kansas gets all the love for 3-techs, but I wonder if Brisset could be a wild card, man.
I think he could. Now, do I want to take him with the 26? When I'm on my draft board, I take him. And that solidifies the interior defense. We already got John Hankel there.
for this year.
So I think that solidifies it. What I don't want to look up and be like, oh, Brian Brisset. I think the Vanilla Gorilla that we let go last year, I think he was bringing the same thing. I don't want to look up and say that.
He was more of a
Clancy,
run guy. He was 6'5", about 320 plus, and he's more of a run guy. I think Brisset can do a little bit more for you.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want somebody who can help out with the run, yeah, but we want to be like, go get that quarterback. Elijah Clancy, he's going to bring that for sure, but not in year one. That's the only thing. He's kind of undersized right now. But what Vice say, get that peanut butter on him.
Get that off-season peanut butter. Yeah, Clancy's a high-energy dude, man. I bet you they probably love it. Everybody loves his tape when they see him. He's an interesting prospect, man. Because he's so undersized, but the Cowboys got one of those in Osa, undersized 3-tech. He just won on day 2 of the draft as opposed to day 1.
Yeah, but his ceiling though, his ceiling is so much more higher.
I'm an Osa fan. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think Osa. I think Osa really can be one of those guys. But here's the thing that we don't ever talk about. I feel like I'm the only guy that talks about this. The Cowboys just don't use their 3-techs in the same way that other guys do. And I feel like, or other teams do. And I feel like even with Clancy, he be utilized in a very similar fashion. Crash test dummy until it's time to get to the rush the passer, right? And then when they do rushing the passer, Cowboys have so many edge rushers. They have so many pass rushers that they get those guys out on the field at the same time. And then you got a Michael Parsons. That I don't know that Osa is always able to show what he can do from a pass rush standpoint. That could be being biased. I could be being biased. But I just feel like Dan Quinn uses it. Say again?
You're scaring me because what you're saying is true, but with that being true, that makes me look at more of a Nolan Smith. Like because you get another linebacker edge rusher with Micah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the more the merrier from a pass rush or from an edge rusher standpoint. But that's interesting you say I'm scaring you. I ain't scaring you because of the player. It's probably because of the way they're using these guys. And think about if you brought a Khalid Clancy here, right? Do you think they'll just let him get upfield and work to get to the quarterback? Or do you think they're going to continue to do what they do, which is stunt? They stunt at a higher rate than anybody in the league, and it's probably, Professor O probably got the number, it's probably a bigger gap than any other team. So they're using these guys to help get their edge guys home.
Now, I think that, again, the first year, because you know how it takes for a defensive lineman of any kind, the first year, and for an offensive lineman, is kind of you getting the feel for it. You rarely see that, ooh, man, they're ready to go. But I think more into the second year, yeah, I'm thinking I think like half a season that we'll be seeing them use Mozzie, not Mozzie, but Elijah or Mozzie.
Yeah, whoever the defense, whoever the interior or the defensive tackle, defense end, whoever it is, yeah, it'll take them some time for sure.
Yeah, people who want to understand what's going on, they would think that they're Taco. No, it takes a lot to be Taco. But man, it's so many things. I'm a Bijan guy if that, because I know that changed the dynamic of the whole team. Bijan will be great. But there's so many things I want to talk about with so little time. But you know what I really would like? I really would like for us to go ahead with the number 26 pick after seeing last night for us to draft. Hey, give me a Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar. I would love that. Brock Lesnar. I would love. Nah, you know they're not going to draft him. I just wanted to bring it up. I want to talk about this. Did you see that last night? Were you expecting that?
Well, Brock?
Yeah.
What we did to Cody? No, I was not, man. That
I loved it. Man, I love the unpredictableness of it. I love the bloodline. I want them to be, but for him to turn on Cody,
I'm torn on it because I didn't like the show in general, and I don't understand where we're going with this one. But we're gonna find out, man. We're gonna find out.
A lot of people said that. A lot of people said they didn't like the show. Yeah, I didn't expect nothing from the show, but especially with the merger between UFC now.
But we supposed to. Raw after Mania, crazy things are supposed to happen, and nothing really happened. But look, I don't want to
What
get
happened last year? I can't even remember what happened last year.
I don't want to get too far off track because I don't want to do too much wrestling show. So let me get to this last call, bro. Get to the chat.
Yeah, we got to get to it, man. Keep it up. You're doing great, bro.
Appreciate you, brother.
Peace.
So I saw C in here say, it's so funny he says this, which y'all thought Osa was going to be Grady. Well, damn it, that was the comp I had when he got drafted. Not saying he was the exact Grady Jarrett type, but I thought that Dan Quinn could develop him into a Grady Jarrett role. Problem is, I didn't foresee the Cowboys doing this whole stunt thing again. Grady Jarrett wasn't asked to be stunt guy. Wasn't asked to be stunt double. He was asked to go get the quarterback. First 2 years in the league, though, Grady Jarrett had 4 sacks total. Osa had that last year. He's got 6 sacks total in his first 2 years in the league. Grady Jarrett had 72 tackles. Osa got 79. So I think Osa has had a better career to start than Grady, given it's way better in my opinion, given the responsibilities are different. So yeah, see, I was expecting Osa to be that 3-tech pass rush guy. Now 6 sacks, given what he's asked to do, is nothing to sneeze at over the first 2 years of his career. And I'm asking the question once again, will they use the defensive tackles in that same manner? If so, I have to now shift. Now I got 2 years of it now under Dan Quinn. I got to shift how I view the interior. That's why the collegiate Canseys of Brian Breesy, whoever the hell you're getting, any of these 3-tech type of dudes, we might have to look at it a little differently. Will they look at it as, look, we don't want to take one of these guys high in the draft because we're not going to use them in that manner. That's why they go out and wait to the 3rd round and get a couple of them. Or do they say, Dan might not be here for a while, or Dan might not be here forever. So if Dan is going after this year and we get a new defensive mind in here that says, hey, we want Cansey or Osa or Brees or whoever it is to get the hell up field and get the quarterback, that changes things a little bit. So that's where this kind of catch-22 comes in. Preparing for the future, but you still have to worry about the right goddamn now. So it's a fun conversation. But I don't know, man. We talk about DA not getting a lot. I think Osa gets just pop on the film. Pop on the film, man. I'm waiting for Okoye. Let me hit up Okoye. Hey, Okoye, I need a not guilty on Osa, dog. We getting a lot of collegiate Cansey love, and I get it, but I think we got a guy on that interior that could be a guy if you use him that way. Just don't think they do. And I'll be real, because I don't like to lie to y'all. There's a little bit of bias to it. There's a tiny bit of bias. I'm a Cowboy fan. I think Osa could be that guy. So I ain't gonna even front. Los, finish this show off for us here on the phones, brother.
Yo, good morning, Sky, man. Hey, just real quick, I just want to shout out to those Dallas Stars, man, clutching a playoff berth.
Hey, I'm trying to get to a game, Los.
Hey, bro, if you've never been to a hockey game, Sky, I promise you.
Playoff at that.
And you're going to love the environment, especially here in Dallas. So if you go, Scott, you just tell me the experience afterwards. And,
got you.
Man, you're going to love it. That's all I got to say. But back to some football, man. Let me say this. Have we disrespected a person we already have here in this locker room? Talking about pass rushers, which is Sam Williams. Like, don't get me wrong.
Nah, we've been giving Sam a lot of love today, brother.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I do think we need all the good edge rushers in the world. You can get enough of them. But I do feel confident that Williams just might be getting into his prime season to succeed, especially with the secondary unit we are establishing here in Dallas already, which I'm going to say here now, Sky. I think Dallas is going to be top 5 categories in quarterback pressure, blitzes, hurries, all that. If Bland, Gilmore, Diggs, Wilson, etc., all these guys can play at the level we expect them to be at, correct?
Yeah.
Because we've seen Parsons wreck games just by himself. So if we're telling me we're drafting an edge on the first round, it would be giving me an idea we're going for a certain D-line replacement with his time here in the Cowboys is coming here soon. And I'm not going to say his name, but I think you know who I'm talking about, Sky. And that's, we're trying to find his replacement.
What's that again?
We might try to find someone's replacement for, him. Because, I'm just saying.
I don't. Just say it because I don't know what you're talking about.
Tank.
Who? What?
DeMarcus Lawrence. If we draft an edge, we might.
Okay.
Yeah, we might be going for his replacement.
Okay, because I needed you to say that one. I didn't know what you were talking about. So you think the Cowboys would draft DeMarcus Lawrence's replacement? Sure.
Correct. Because I said, I'm not gonna say anything like I'm superstitious like Bosch. So I'm not gonna say anything about that nature, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But it's not because of his play. DeMarcus Lawrence is a hell of a player, and I have to say that. All right.
Oh, he's going to be 32 next year. Yeah.
So if we're going for edge, we're probably going for his replacement. So that's all I got to say. And then I'll leave it at this. That first round and second round for the Cowboys is going to be really interesting, Scott, because it's going to be an either or in any position you might need. So, and you don't know who's ranked above who, but if you truly want a player that can be in your timeline, to be a win now mode, like you say, Sky, you're going to have to hit in those first two rounds. But don't be shocked if there's some players on the board and you're like, damn, he fell to this team, because there are some good names out there that can, fall your way. And that's all I got to say about that, Scott. But we'll see how this draft goes. I'm excited about it. I mean, Cowboys have done a good building up season so far, and we'll see where we go.
All right, man. Appreciate the call, Los. You're definitely right about one thing. Just never know about that damn draft. Just never know. So I wanted to look at D-Law. He did get the restructure, and I'm not really sure exactly. Maybe they pushed some money here in this void year. So next year, if they were to move on from DeMarcus Lawrence, they see Sam Williams plays amazing. They draft a Will McDonald possibly, or what? We just throwing scenarios out there. And they designated him a June 1st cut. They would save $10 million on a cap, but they'd also deal with $20 million in dead money over the next 2 years. So they'd get $10 million for 2024 cap, but it won't come till after June 1st, similar to Ezekiel Elliott. But it will cost them 10 on the cap 2024 and 10 on the cap in 2025. So it's possible. There is an out. Like, that is the out if you're willing to deal with the dead money. What you don't want to do, though, is you move on from him and you're moving on from Gallup and all these other guys who kind of been talking about, and then you're dealing with that much dead money. You don't want to do that. So it probably would be an either or if we're talking about these two players. But hey, man, if they draft one of these young bucks, D-Law could be on that chopping block. CJ said, not trying to sound crazy, but what are we going to do about kicker? It ain't crazy, CJ. I think they just look at kicker as a position that they'll worry about closer to camp. I'm not trying to diminish kicker. After what we saw in the playoffs, bro, I'm not even trying to diminish it. I don't think they're going to draft a guy. There's a handful of teams where every single draft pick matters to them, and I feel like Will McClay would throw a fit if they took a kicker in the draft. They'd throw a fit because they are so calculated. It's like a science to these guys, and I feel like they look at every single draft pick as a potential to, fulfill one of these other roles that they believe are much more important, whether it's first round or seventh round. They feel like these guys can do something. So I don't really see them drafting one. If they did, that would be, hey, we're in the off season of things happening that are different for the Cowboys. So maybe they'll continue that as well. But I don't see them drafting the kicker, man. But kicker is something they'll deal with after the draft, for sure. Iceberg said, Will McDonald screaming off that edge. Got him. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, Iceberg Slim. Thinking about the future of a Sam Williams replacing D-Law, Will McDonald on the edge, and you're able to keep Micah as a guy to move around. Oh, man. One of the most underrated things about Sam Williams, I think last year, and maybe we need to get a film breakdown on Sam, and not even his pass rushes. I thought he played the run really well. The first couple games, I think me and Vosh, we talked about this. You saw him kind of figuring out. He was kind of playing too fast, right? But then you saw it slow down. And I think Sam was one of your top guys in tackles for loss, like top 5 or top 3 or whatever it was. in tackles for loss. For a rookie, you didn't play that much, by the way. He didn't play that much. So his tackle for loss percentage to snaps, the ratio was crazy. So I think Sam Williams can fulfill the DeMarcus Lawrence run defender guy, but he has the athleticism to give you what D-Law used to be able to give you from a pass rush standpoint. He may not be the 14 sack guy anymore. D-Law, I think, is going to live in that 6 to 8 sack world, which we talked about a couple years ago. D-Law is more of a 8 sack guy now, I think. And that works for what he's asked to do, I think. A lot of people get mad because they said he got paid to do more. Fair. He ain't getting paid that much no more. But I think Sam can give you that run defense as he continues to develop. But he has this ceiling as a pass rusher because he's so athletic and he's so strong. And he plays like a crazed man out there. That Sam combined with Will, combined with Micah could be really fun, man. Really, really fun. All right, good stuff today. Foots absolutely killed it as always. Y'all killed it in the chat, and the phone calls are great, man. Brought up some good scenarios we have fun with, and that's pretty much what it's going to be over the next 3 weeks, man. You know, we are hitting the tipping point of draft season. We've talked about everybody could talk about, so now we're kind of playing with these scenarios and seeing where we can go. Cowboys are probably topped off in regards to, you know, signing guys. They're not probably going to do any more of that. They'll bring in these free agents and get a closer look at them. And if they do make a move, obviously we'll break it down. Let's get to some supers that I might have missed. So we got Toxic and we got Tricks earlier. Chris drop one. We don't wipe them 304. Said,
Super chat.
If we draft Will, does Micah go back to off-ball linebacker? I'm gonna say no year one. I think if they draft Will McDonald, he'll get the Sam Williams treatment. Excuse me. Where he will play 15, 17 snaps. Not enough to push Micah full-time back. I don't think Will McDonald is going to get enough snaps to push him back there. So now the future, though, that could be. That could be. But I got to see it, man. Playing 700 snaps as an edge and then only 100 something as linebacker, to me, shows me where they want to put Mike at. So I got to see it. Sully dropped one.
Super chat.
The joke with Charlie Murphy was actually a Charlie Wilson joke. Hate to see a good joke go to waste. Oh, you must have said something in there. My bad, Sully. I didn't catch it, brother. My bad. My apologies, man. All right, look. Good stuff today, y'all. If you enjoyed today's show, like I always say, please hit the like button, but only if you enjoyed that. Put no pressure on you. It just helps us out. We'll be back on later with Vach on the Fox Lombardi live show. The Volume. Check it out. There is no live show like Vach and I's show on the Volume. There isn't. Talking draft today. All 32 show today. And then Mo will be back on later talking Cowboys on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Make sure y'all hit up A to Z Sports Dallas.com. The reworked website. It's fantastic. Good articles. We have the Cowboys tracker up there. The 30-day visit tracker is there. So if you need to find a place to go to find out who the Cowboys are bringing in, there you go. A to Z Sports Dallas.com, man. And then I'll be back tomorrow, yo. I'll be back tomorrow and giving y'all a fantastic show, man. Good stuff today. Love y'all to death. Let me press this button and get up out of here. Tell you what, Vince better do something about this Cody situation, because you can't have him getting buried by no damn Brock Lesnar, who is no longer the future. No longer the future. Cody was that's supposed to be his moment, man. We out of here. Peace. Shout out to the Bomb Squad. Shout out to the Mod Squad. Y'all the best, man.